Hello, welcome to this episode of Back to the City. Today I am joined, I'm happy to say, by two members of the Rockford Mules, the rhythm section.
That's us.
Yeah, yes. AKA Joel and Craig. You're the rhythm section in the Rockford Mules and also in Deep Dark Lake and also in Sea Beams.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I understand
That's a lot.
correctly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I love some of the titles of songs of Deep Dark Lake in particular. I was a teenage nihilist, fell asleep in my car. Cars are going to be important throughout our conversation.
Yeah.
The last Camaro.
Right.
I just got confirmation. I thought this was the case. So what type of car is
The Camaro's
a Camaro?
it's like a classic muscle car. It's like iconic. It makes you think of the 70s jeans and dirt roads
Yep.
and kind of this sort of lost era type thing.
Totally.
It's we've romanticized a little bit, I guess. And the word Camaro also means friend. And I mean, we've been doing this for nearly 20 years. The four of us, like off and on, we'll put out a record and then we won't play a show for a year, and then and it's always been kind of sporadic like that. And we're sort of the last people hanging from a bygone era. I
Yeah.
guess. Is that fair?
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I love that the two sides of that. There's this analogy with that particular car, and also with the word meaning friend, and the fact that for almost 2 decades now, the same four of you have been playing together on again and
Yeah.
off again.
Yes.
There's never been a version of the band that isn't the same four people, which is rare.
Well, I took a sabbatical for
took a
a little bit, so
sabbatical.
they had a different drummer play a bunch of shows. But
But we had a bunch of touring to do.
Yeah.
He
Right.
took a sabbatical.
So
And the
there's a
interesting
sub for
thing
that.
was we did not write one single song in that time. Not one, because we write collectively as a group.
Right.
But with the replacement drummer,
Yeah.
we didn't write anything.
and then I would come back and actually play with them, and we wrote some songs, and then the other drummer would play shows.
Yeah, because
That is very
we can't.
interesting.
It just any other four people, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's kind of the exception that proves the rule to it being just the four of you.
Yeah.
And the connection and the bond that the four of you have is something that I was encountering again and again as I was doing my research for the interview on the one sheet, and then beyond that too. On the one sheet it says, a band molded from the days when being in a band meant more and went beyond just playing music together. Music formed from friendships, friendships molded by music.
Yeah.
So it is so fitting, I think, that this could be interpreted as the last friend and like the last band that is forged on friendship.
Yes.
In this way.
Yes.
And so that's why I started by emphasizing that the two of you are the rhythm section in 2 other bands as well. How did those other bands come to be, and how does that relate to this story of almost 2 decades of the rock?
All right. we were all from different bands. No, actually, of everybody. Well, a lot of different bands in the 90s. We're going to age ourselves here a little bit. But in the 90s, we were all really active locally. We played tons of shows together.
Yep.
So we didn't even start playing until we were all adults. We were, early 30s when we very first started playing together as the Rockford Mules. But we knew each other really well.
Because you've been playing in different bands
Yes.
together in the same scene.
We'd been sharing bills for probably 7 or 8 years at least before that, and we just immediately hit it off. And bands have kind of factions, you know what I mean? And it's not, we all love each other, don't get me wrong. But me and him, there's us, and then there's Joel and
Joel's right here.
There's me and Joel. There's me and Joel. There's me and Joel, and there's Eric and Ryan.
Yes.
Like whenever we were on tour, we never had a bus or anything like that. But if we had 2 vehicles, it was us 2 and those 2.
Yeah.
That's just, and he's my buddy. He's my best friend. We click musically for one thing, and we're just homies. We've always been musically very much on the same page. So, and Sea Beams came about just out of boredom in a downtime from the Mules, and what we were doing basically was file sharing stuff. And so Joel plays drums in the Mules and Deep Dark Lake, but he writes a lot. So we would like share compositions back and forth, using Google Drive, and get together once in a while too, because you need that like be in the same room type thing. And we ended up putting out, I think, 2 records, 2 EP records. Yeah.
I Am the Back of the Turtle on Which the Whole of Existence Resides is my favorite title.
I don't know where a lot of that stuff came from. I might have some suspicions.
Pull a book off your
that's right.
bookcase and you'd be like,
That's weird, because they're almost entirely instrumentals, other than a couple.
Yeah.
right, right.
So we would literally, like, I have my bookshelf, and I would grab a book, like, all right, we need a cool phrase for this, and start flipping stuff around. Dune is one of my favorite books. I know we have a song called the Zen Sunni Whip. Anybody that's read Dune will get that. And then I don't remember exactly how we started playing with Lane.
You were playing with Lane.
That's right.
For a little bit.
Yep, me and Lane were playing with this other drummer who I couldn't stand him. I didn't like having the dude in my house. I shouldn't say that on cable access, but I'm going to. Fuck you, Joel. No, it's other Joel. We actually call him Evil Joel.
Oh, wow.
But, and it was, he ended up quitting, which was great because I was kind of walked to. And Lane is also another guy from the scene back in the day.
Right.
He was in, do you remember Houston? Or are you familiar?
It rings a bell, but I don't think I was
They were a thing
here enough.
back then.
Yeah, they were.
They're, like a cult band. And he quit, and so Joel didn't want to at first, and I kind of dragged him kicking and screaming to come and play with us. And then him and Lane completely took over, which is awesome, I think. I play bass, and Lane's a bass player by, like, that's his main go-to thing.
Sure.
Well, not anymore, but so those two write virtually everything. And I just get to come along for the ride, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
That's in C-Beams.
That's
Deep Dark Lake.
Deep Dark Lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. C-Beams is kind of just sort
Deep
of our
Dark
hobby.
Lake. C-Beams is now kind of Deep Dark Lake.
C-Beams is basically Deep Dark
Right.
Lake. A bunch of those songs got repurposed.
Yeah.
In fact, we were just listening to mixes of one of them today. That's an old C-Beams song.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're just putting the final touches on a record of our own too.
Yeah.
Very cool. And both Eric and Ryan have their own solo projects.
Yep.
Yes,
too.
they do.
Yeah. Ballad of a Winter Beard and
Fantastic
Frequency
record.
Collision. Oh, Frequency Collision is the
That's
name
That's
of the
Ryan's.
That's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
name of
Yeah.
his band. And then
Yeah.
Ballad of a Winter Beard is one of Eric's albums.
Totally, yeah.
That is phenomenal.
Unbelievable. I don't know. Every time that we get interviewed, I have to bring up Eric Tassa, Ballad of a Winter Beard.
Yeah.
Go to Spotify.
Do you have a favorite track?
Oh, Sunny Miles.
I couldn't tell you the names.
Yeah.
Sunny Miles.
Sunny
Okay.
Miles.
It's so good,
It's
though.
like you would play it at a funeral. It's just this incredibly, how would you describe it? Like somber, just beautiful, almost, it's like a hymn more than a song.
Sunny Miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet, but the viewers are hearing it now.
I can't, every time that I have to bring that record up because it was just, I think, tragically overlooked in Minneapolis. It came out, at least 10 years
Yeah,
ago?
I couldn't even tell you. I know Jeff Halland had a lot to do with
Yeah.
The
Who was also in Houston.
mixing. Yeah, he was in Houston. He added keyboards and stuff to that album. Made
It's
it
gorgeous.
How are decisions made about, so if Eric is writing songs, like how are decisions made about whether it would be like a solo project song or a Rockford Mules?
When we get together and write songs, we pretty much just jam and something comes out of it.
Right.
Nobody brings a song. For this band, Rockford Mules, nobody comes down and says, here's a song, let's play this. That's not how it works
Yeah,
in this
from
band.
where that tracks
Yeah.
with like how the songs sound.
Yeah.
It's cohesive. They don't sound like singer-songwriter songs that a
Right,
band is
right.
playing. They sound like band songs.
Yeah, yeah. And someone might have our idea of a riff, but it's a jam band.
Yeah.
We're
we workshop everything. As a matter of fact, we don't have a single song that we completed that we didn't put out. Like that's because we vet everything. So if we bother to finish writing it, that means all 4 of us are giving it the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
So there's not some back catalog of B-sides or any of that stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think it was Kerrang that described you as whiskey spitting. Is this correct?
yeah,
Correct. Whiskey spitting, devil chasing, guitar grinding. Describes you by those terms. And in the one sheet, it said that the Rockford Mules were once described as that and have now evolved into a more refined version of themselves. And I think that's really interesting to explore a bit further. Like it still has this Kerrang also said, gruff and grisly swagger. There's a lot of swagger still to this record. And you talked about the summer, what was the song on Ballad of a Winter Bit?
Sunny Miles.
Sunny Miles. You talked about Sunny Miles being like a hymn and being solemn. Some of that solemnity is kind of beautifully present in, I think, the title track of this record, which is interesting. What thoughts do you have, perhaps in light of that I was surprised getting to the end of the EP for the title track to have kind of the lower BPM and it's really quite it's kind of pretty. And so what thoughts do you have about maintaining the swagger and also having evolved into this more refined version?
There's a really cool story about that song. I think so anyways. That was a rock song, the last song for years. I don't think we ever recorded it. No, we didn't record it until that version, but there was just something, like we loved playing it wrong, or we loved playing it live.
Yeah.
But it was just missing something. And so we decided, like, all right, let's just break this down, put it on piano, turn it into a piano song, and, put some timpani and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and then
instrumentation is quite different than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's more orchestral.
Yes.
I think a big part of that comes from Tassa. Lyrically, he writes like how would you describe his lyrics? He's like a old school biblical sage type of thing. He is an outstanding writer.
Yeah.
Really, really good writer. Lyrically. And he's always had, there's a lot of biblical themes, a lot of sort of, devil and angel imagery comes up in our music a lot.
Yep.
And I think...
From devil's spit to angel's tears.
Yeah, right.
Angel's tears.
Yeah. And just, kind of... There's definitely some, some meanness and some guts, but there's also, this sort of... quest for salvation. That sounds so stupid. I'd like to apologize to everybody in Minneapolis. That sounds so stupid, but there's kind of at least from his position, there's this hunt for salvation that he's on.
Yeah, which makes it, that's why From Devil's Spit to Angel Tears is such a fitting title, isn't it, to that first LP from back in 2008. I really like that Leave the Dirt On, the dirt has been left on. With that song, and it opens with the address to the gamblers, the drunkards, and the thieves, and let's go. And it seems like this other component that exists alongside the Devil's Spit, it's always been there to some extent, with that title being so apt from all the way back in 2008. But perhaps it's woven in more now?
I think you understand us better than we do. Because I'm like, that's actually on point. I never thought of it that way, but that's always been there. And again, I think that's through Eric's just growth, watching his kids grow up.
That will do it.
When we first started, I remember our first practice, his wife was pregnant with their first kid.
Yeah.
And that kid's graduated high school, I think.
Yeah.
And so, that's a lot of time, a lot of life. And you cannot, if you're doing it right, you should not be the same person at 30 or if you're doing it right, you shouldn't be the same person at 50 than you were at 30. In good ways. You should continue to grow and evolve and learn and
Exactly.
to get to know yourself, figure out who you are and what your role is in this, whatever the hell this is.
Right. Yeah, but continue. I think it is possible to continue spitting whiskey and grinding guitars.
I can assure you it is.
Exactly. Whilst evolving. It's good fuel for the evolution.
Yes.
And the second track, Sweet Highway Mile, that is more like I would expect the last Camaro to sound.
It's totally fair. Yeah.
Because the song is we're celebrating the Sweet Highway Mile and and the experience of driving that Sweet Highway Mile is like changing reality for us, putting a spell on us. Is that?
Oh, I like that.
Is that what this? What is the lyric? Oh, Sweet Highway Mile. What's the next?
Come on.
I couldn't tell you.
Sorry, Eric. I don't remember, but I know the story of the song is he was on a road trip with his son. And
Really? The same son that was.
Yeah, I believe.
Yes, Jesse.
Yeah, it was Jesse. Yeah, his oldest boy was. He wrote the lyrics. He doesn't like. He never. I don't remember who wrote that riff, but he'll come in like he'll hear the song and then it'll strike a memory or something for him, and then he'll and interestingly enough, do you know what a synesthete is? Somebody who sees
yes.
or hears sounds as colors.
Yes. Like I know. Yes, synesthesia.
He has synesthesia, which is absolutely fascinating to me because I knew what synesthesia. He didn't know what it was. We were at practice once, and I remember him saying, like, "Man, that's like, that riff is like kind of purple blue. Do you hear that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, really? And he's like, "Yeah, like, don't you see the colors when we're playing?" And I'm like, "No."
What was in your beer?
But I knew, and I was like, "Dude, you have synesthesia." And he's like, "What's that?" And it's that. Huh. So, anyways, I thought that was
very cool.
interesting, but
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with the question, I don't think.
Oh, that's okay. We're just having a conversation. It is interesting to know that the experience of the Sweet Highway Mile, that the genesis of like the vibe of the song, is not like someone solo driving their last Camaro, but someone with their son. And that does, I think that is the vibe of the song. Like it is less devil chasing, like the solitary devil chasing guy.
Yes.
It's less that because it's more informed by the connection and the commitment to, I'm showing up for these friends through 20 years, and I'm showing up for my kid, my kids. I love that.
I've never thought of that. I never thought of that.
I know, this is like therapy.
Yeah, go on, please.
It's funny. It's like therapy for Eric.
Right.
Oh, you know what?
He doesn't need to
we
show
have had, on a side note,
Yeah.
just this last Saturday, and I bring this up almost every time we play. We're not, the rules for how old you can be to be a musician are gone. I remember when I was a kid, the first time I played the 17th entry, we opened for this band, legendary band called the Mighty Mofos.
Yeah, I know
Was
those.
Bill in that band?
Yeah.
This legendary sound guy from First Avenue. I don't think he's there anymore.
I doubt
wouldn't
it.
even know. But I knew that he was 30, and I was like, man, that guy's 30 and he's in a
Still
band.
playing?
Yuck. We didn't even start until we were with this band until we were in our 30s. But my point is this: like, it's therapeutic. It's absolutely therapeutic. Like we get together and we spend probably a half hour just processing our lives and talking and like kind of having conversations that you don't really get to have if you're an adult dude anymore. You know what I mean?
Totally, yeah.
Agreed.
I think the rationale for this show, where we have longer form conversations, we talk for more than the length of the record. That it's certainly it's got 5 songs on it. And the rationale for it is that, I think, that the essential kernel truth that makes it make any sense to have these long conversations about the music is that music is therapeutic and is a medium through which we can process our experiences, and particularly with bands, like collectively we can do this, and becomes a catalyst for the evolution of the group.
You become a little tribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like the cavemen hunkering around the fire, figuring things out.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Young Guns.
Young Guns.
Yeah.
Young Guns is PAL. Have you seen Young Guns 2?
No.
Okay. Anybody that's seen Young Guns 2 is going to get the PALs thing, but that's like, we always put hashtag PALs on our stuff because it's basic. I'll spare you this story, but I would check out the film. It's great, even though it's called Young Guns 2. That sounds like a stupid movie. It's not. It's a classic.
Yeah, it's the sequel that's the good one.
The sequel's the good one. Yeah. How often does that happen? Actually, the first one's great too, but it's a long story short. It's a bunch of outlaws that have this really close bond, and they're like on the run to, get to point A or whatever while they're being pursued by this over there. I mean, it's not a difficult analogy to figure out.
Yeah, Young Guns. 30-something Young Guns, 40-something Young Guns, 50-something Young Guns.
Yeah, or middle-aged Young Guns. B-A-R-P guns. Middle-aged guns.
So there has always been, I think, this balance of beauty and grit. And TakeEffectReviews.com was acknowledging with the new record that there is this balance of beauty and grit, and that is becoming more and more refined, that balance. So I think the favorite song of the reviewer in the Take Effect Reviews review was Gringo. The third track.
Gringo.
Gringo, the third track, where there's this swirling guitar and vocal harmonies that make that. That's an interesting. It's a really solid centerpiece. Do you have any thoughts about that particular song? Like how that song evolved?
What do you think? That's more of a your song.
No.
It relies on your drums a lot.
It does rely on my drums, and I think my drums are horrible on it, and I can't really listen to it.
Get out of here. He's been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
That one that's more of like, I think of that as a fun song. And that is classic Tassa storytelling where it's about a shootout, and he loves like West. Like we have another song that's very similar called Hey John Wayne. That's sort of like, let's get the gang together and go kick some asses.
Yep.
Is sort of the rallying cry behind both of those tracks.
That's on Ma They Broke Me, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's right at the center of Ma They Broke Me, just like this is right at the center of the last one.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Something that also I love about that Ma They Broke Me record, which presumably you did on purpose, is that there's both Hammer Swinger and Son of Hammer Swinger.
Yeah.
Did that on purpose.
The Hammer Swinger actually was an Eric acoustic song that we brought. That was like one of the only ones where he brought a song, and someone actually brought a song and said, "Hey, let's try this electric."
But we made this. I will always be proud of this. We made this savage rhythm section part for that song that I am still so proud of. As a matter of fact, here's a funny story. To me, this is an amazing story. But I was in the basement of my house. This was probably, 4 or 5 years ago. And completely out of the blue, I thought of the song Hammer Swinger. We rarely played it live anymore.
Right.
And I thought, man, that was a really good song. I literally, within 1 minute, looked at my phone and I had a text from him saying, Hammer Swinger was great. Wow. This was a true story. Do you remember this?
No.
Oh, it happened.
You're making stuff up.
It is.
But I mean, it was like this weird, like, psychic, I don't know if you believe in such things. I don't know if I do or not. But I was like, what an incredible...
Most of the time I do. I know it's a bit wacky, but most of the time I do believe in such things. And that's the case in point.
I have a sense of humility when it comes to the interpretation of reality.
Yeah, that helps, I think.
Who knows? Well, sure, it's more fun.
Yeah, and then magical things, a series of events like what you just described occur. In my experience, it seemed to occur more frequently when I don't try to explain them away as coincidences. It's just like random coincidences. April 6th, 2010, at the Uptown Bar, Hammer Swinger was new. And I saw a video that was live clip of a new song.
Yeah.
This was just, April 6th,
Yeah.
2024 was just reposted. So at that point, that version that was the new song performed at the Uptown Bar, did you have the killer rhythm section for it at that
Oh, yeah.
time?
Oh, yeah.
You did? Yeah.
Yep. It was, he came in and he just had the basic, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, blah, blah, blah. And we just, Ryan did a great job. Ryan put down this killer lap steel track over it. Me and him came up with this super groovy rhythm section thing. And it's one of those things that is, I think, a side note tangent, one of the reasons why me and him have such great chemistry is the rhythm section is always a percussive thing. Like, I'm playing drums too, but
Yes.
there's notes. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. I do know
And
exactly
so
what you mean.
we're
And I hear
locked.
that. Yeah,
know
that's
what-
an accurate description of the rhythm section
Yeah.
When it's done correctly.
of this rhythm section.
Yeah. When it's done correctly, in my mind, in our mind, and that goes back to the bands that we both idolized.
Lots of AMRAP bands were like
AMRAP,
that.
a lot of AMRAP bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Jesus Lizard, I've been ripping that guy off for years. Shellac, the bass player from Shellac.
Oh, yeah.
Rest in peace, Steve Albini.
Yeah.
Those types of rhythm sections, though, that are really percussion minded. It's like, it makes it dancey.
Totally.
Yeah.
Another aspect of music being good for us, in my experience, is that it makes us move.
Yeah.
It makes us, dancing is good for us, not just connecting with lyrical content, say. Otherwise, one could just read a poem. But dancing it's key. That is the role of the rhythm section.
Yes. And we both love that. We're always looking for it.
Yeah, and that really comes through. I mean, I think on Leave the Dirt On, immediately that's
Yes.
when that was my first impression of the band, listening to that first song on the new EP. I was walking, and it transformed my experience of walking. I could
Make
not.
you pick up your pace a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, I remember the first time we played that live. In my head, I was thinking, when we wrote the song, I thought, people are not going to be able to not move when we play this song.
That's the
and
point.
sure, when we do play it live, they immediately, people can't, it's like a disco beat. They can't, it's not really like a disco, you know what I'm saying though? Like a, how would you describe it?
Swagger.
Swag, yeah.
That to me
it's
it
just,
is.
yeah.
It could be disco beats, almost
It's not a disco.
Staying Alive. You can see John Travolta walking down the...
Oh, I'm going to try that when I get home.
I became a little John Travolta as I was walking. Let's go. Let it not be forgotten that a Muppet Show of a video
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
for Leave the Dirt On. How did this Muppet Show of a video come to be?
Well, we wanted to do a video. We just didn't know what we wanted, if we wanted to invite a ton of people down or not, and we just decided, it's going to be a handful of people and everybody's going to have a puppet, I don't know. And then we cut out a bunch of faces out of magazines and threw them on the wall. That's why Glitch McConnell's in it.
Yeah.
Because anyways.
I think Taylor Swift's in there.
Swift is in it, yeah. Yeah, it was just, rather than having a ton of people down there, it was...
We knew we wanted to film it in the basement,
Yeah.
like a live show, but yeah, and then my wife is a creative type, and she was like, oh, makes, and so she started taking stuff we had around the house and making puppets and blah, blah, blah. And, then we just did it ourselves with our friend Sarah Sauser, who's been our photographer forever, and she made another video that we put out a long time ago, but she came down and we just kind of did this one day, let's just have fun.
Yep.
Shoot clips and put it out. As opposed, we didn't want to spend 10 grand and get do that. We've done that before and it served us very well.
Yeah.
Where we invested a lot in a video.
For which song was that?
Mother Broke Me. Mark Haar made that. He's a super, super, super talented guy. If you haven't seen the video, I highly recommend it. I think it's awesome. My dog's in it. Actually, all the dogs in that video are dead. They're actually
that's
there too.
That's
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But anyways, But it was
they're
just,
in the
we just had a
videos,
blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I love hearing about so like the puppet, like your wife, you were saying,
Yeah.
had a role to play. So and again, like the emphasis throughout the like the one sheet and elsewhere on this record being a celebration of a time when your band was your family. I love how present the families of the band members are too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. His wife is in.
She
the
twerked
video.
in the
yeah,
video.
His wife twerked in the video.
It was cut out, but well, like just a little. Anyways, yeah, her goal that day was to twerk. She
Yeah.
did.
Made that happen.
Yeah,
The power of editing.
but it's like the friendship and the connection, it really is very highly valued by you guys, I can tell, and it makes sense that that's what the recurring emphasis is throughout like the promotional material. It's like it's authentic. It's
Yeah.
very authentic and real.
I mean, we've all been in bands with people who I haven't talked to in literally
Right.
decades.
Yeah.
But these guys, you know, just works.
Yeah.
It's family.
Yeah.
That's the best word.
Yeah. Honey Dripper is a really interesting song as well. And it's a nice kind of slow burn, I feel. And
Very
That's another
70s.
song that completely got reworked.
Right. That's right. It was.
was-
Speaking
that
of
was a disco beat.
yeah, that one had a disco beat. It was a lot more up tempo and yeah. Forgot all about
so
that.
how did that shift and how did it landed in this form that
Right.
you will sign off on? How did it, how was this a format to?
It just didn't fit. It was, I mean, the other version was good, but I think Eric came down and goes, let's try this slower. Let's just see what happens. And that's what we did. And it turned out,
Totally.
it's a lot better than the disco version.
And the disco version, we were absolutely in love with that first.
Do either of you know what the Honey Dripper lyric is? If something has a honey dripper, it's a whisper.
I don't know.
I know that it's about somebody who's inauthentic and full of shit, but I can't remember the lyrics off
Right.
the top of my head.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I was trying to, but if I had heard that kind of chorus lyric, right? It's like if something has a honey dripper, it's a whisper. Does that sound
I
right?
don't remember. I
I
know
don't
that
remember. Sorry.
honey dripper is a biblical allusion to the Old Testament. I know that is for like somebody who's, well, you get the idea, right? Like they're giving you this wonderful presentation that's
Right.
inauthentic.
Yeah, exactly. Good at rhetoric. Honey tongued.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where Eric just shines. He's such a strong writer. I don't even really know what that song's about. Do you?
No.
That song I
don't.
think of as more like as a it's almost like a workout, like a.
I just don't get into lyrics a lot. So you could ask me a lyric of anything and I won't know it. I just like the way the melodies work together and the music
Yes.
works together.
Yeah.
I don't care. I do care what the lyrics say, but I don't. Does that make
Right,
sense?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's not telling everybody to kill each other, I'm good with it.
Yeah. The main function of the band is like to capture the essence and the ethos of the song outside of the lyrics.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like there's like a syrupy feel to it, with it being kind of. How would you say if the song is related to this honey-tongued, inauthentic?
I hope I'm not wrong about that, Eric,
perfect.
but I'm just assuming.
Then how does that come through in the instrumentation? Do you feel in like the way the song sounds?
It's a dumb question.
The song is very snaky and it moves around a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. He's got one of those things. What do you call that?
Maraca.
Maraca going on in the background.
Yeah.
So it's seductive. I think the
It is.
song sounds seductive and a little bit like almost, I can't think of the word. There's a little touch of almost mysticism in the song. To me, it sounds like I get imagery of conjurers or something like that.
Yeah,
That's what
I'm
I
into
think of.
mysticism.
So, I don't know. And that is straight up, I mean, it's a dance song in a lot of ways. There's a lot of dance parts to it.
Yeah. Not a disco dance song anymore.
It was straight up disco.
But it
beat,
maintains
yeah.
but it maintains the dance component.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that I love about this band a lot.
Well, it rewards itself. We figured out right away when we write songs that, kind of do these crescendos where people can like move and we can get them excited. Yeah, that makes us excited.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I
and
do
so
know what
that
you mean.
makes I am absolutely 100%. It sounds arrogant, confident in our abilities as a live band. I think we're awesome.
It's not arrogant to be confident.
But I think, the reason why I know this is first off because I know you can just feel it when it's right. It's 100% the most magical thing in the world. There's nothing else in the world that I've experienced as absolutely ecstatic as like when it's good and everybody's on and you're reading each other's thoughts basically,
Yeah.
but not really needing to think at all, if that makes sense.
It does.
But we get the obvious
flow.
visual reward when the crowd is with us too. You know what I mean? And it's if it sounds good, it is good. And I'm rambling now.
You're
You know what I'm trying to say though?
I do, yeah. You can feel it, and Eric can also see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can see this. He can see the energy.
Yes, he can
Right,
see
right.
it. Yeah.
Well, let's focus a little bit more on the song, The Last Camaro, to close, as we've been taking this journey through the record. And you were saying before the interview that that phrase came from a friend's dream.
Yeah. Our friend Matt Zacharias, I don't want to screw this story up, but to the best of my memory, he'd had this dream. Now this part I know happened. He had a dream that somehow one of us had decided to rename the band The Last Camaro, or one of us was starting a new band called The Last Camaro or something like that. And we all just kind of hit on that phrase, like The Last Camaro. That just sounds cool. You know what I mean? It's cool. If
It's cool
nothing
that
else, The Last Camaro. It's like this kind of lone avatar from a dead era. Like
Right.
lone remaining, avatar might be right. A lone, the last one.
And it's
The
like-
last one of an era that's dying, if not dead.
Yeah, there's been the tribe, and now there is like one tribe member left. It's interesting paradox, like
Yes.
being solitary, but also this established thing that makes sense only because of the now absent presence of the other members.
I like that. That's the absent presence of the other members.
Yeah, and I like that it's from like this unofficial fifth member, and your good friend, and Camaro also means friend. Yeah, it all kind of fits together really nicely, doesn't it?
That was all completely intentional too. That was our master plan. Starting 20 years ago, we're like, all right, boys, it's going down like this.
I also love that in your friend's dream, like the dream versions of you like that phrase, and then the real.
Loved it. Yeah.
And
As soon
then
as we
in
heard
reality,
it.
you
Yeah.
love the phrase and you use it.
Yeah.
It becomes the title of the record. Last breath took for years, I think is one of the lyrics there. I think there might be a reference to honey tears. I don't know if
Yeah.
is that right? Am I hearing that right? That's interesting, like carrying on from the previous song.
But in a more benevolent way.
Yes,
This
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like kind of, maybe the syrupy feel is here. Here it's related to letting oneself feel, perhaps these honey tears, and we were talking about being in a band, and there's this opportunity to process one's experiences and emotions. Is kind of fitting that the title track has this in that honey tears line. This that kind of celebrates that very thing. How did this wind up being A, the title track, and B, the closing track?
Want to take this one?
No.
Wow, really?
I don't know how it.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's just because the song sounds like it just has a sense of closure.
It does.
It does, yes.
And actually, it was one of the last songs we wrote before we went on our first hiatus. It was one of the last songs that we wrote, and it just felt like sort of a resolution. Not necessarily sad, not necessarily joyful, but kind of just somber, and
There's a
elements
gravity
of both.
to it, perhaps.
What's that?
There's a gravity
Yeah,
to recognizing
yes.
and honoring. Yeah.
And it feels like if you just went and saw a depressing movie and they show the end credits, like they would fit right in there for that. I think closure. I'm gonna go with that.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, makes sense to him.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice and neat as we're arriving at the end of the interview.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much
you.
for having us.
You're very welcome.
We love doing this stuff. It's great.
I've recently been becoming more aware of why I do this and what the function of the show is, and it's exactly what you were saying. Music is for you guys this medium to process experience and evolve together. And I think when people are responsive at your shows to the energy of the band and their bodies are moving
Yes.
in a good way.
And it's I feel kind of sorry for anybody that doesn't have access to that kind of energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think
Yeah.
of I feel incredibly blessed / lucky / whatever that we still get to do this. And I think there's got to be so many people who've got something in them that they're just not able to get out, not able to access. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Until it's harnessed, in my experience, until there's the spark of something, you don't know that it's something that you're missing.
Yes.
I agree. When they asked me to play in Deep Dark Lake, it was right before COVID hit. Then we played one show, and I was like, damn, I missed this. And it really made me, because we hadn't really played anything with the Rockford Mules or anything for a couple of years, and you play that show, and then COVID hit, I'm like, I want to play. I want to play more shows. That was a great time. I don't care if I was out until 1.
Yeah. And then it's the present absence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it was awesome to have access during COVID.
Yes,
you know,
it
and
was.
to have people, very small circle, you know what I mean, who we were file sharing and blah blah blah. But to have some kind of connection to the rest of culture while you're and while I'm in my computer room trying to quote unquote teach high school over the internet.
Difficult to do electronically. Yeah.
That's a whole other.
Yeah. I was also
Yeah.
doing some teaching online.
Yeah, just
Not
your
the same.
face on camera and a
Not
bunch of
the same.
black squares.
Right. There isn't the connection.
What's
That there isn't the connection.
No connection. Yep.
This is relevant. This the contrast between that, because we're both teachers, and we love teaching, but there needs to be this connection, and I feel
That's
the
Part of the point.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And playing in the band and music, I think, is something that is like a litmus test, an anchor. It gives us experience. Oh, this is what being connected feels like. This is what feeling alive. And so long as you keep on forging friendships more forging friendship through music and vice versa, like it says, then the risk of any one of us being the one and only last Camaro is diminished. let's let's stick.
I love
stick
that.
together. Yeah.
I love that.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much, friends,
Well, yeah,
for
thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you very much, friends,
Well, yeah,
for
thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. This has been Back to the City. We do have a new event series called Music Heals Us. I feel that that's something that we've been kind of acknowledging today. So that is the final Saturday of August and the final Saturday of September are the first two events, 7 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. at the VFW. That is the vibe of Back to the City, I think, acknowledging that music heals us. And so thank you for providing a special devil chasing, whiskey spitting, evolved version of that healing from devil spit to angel tears and all. We'll be back with more Back to the City, 10 p.m. next Thursday, and we'll be having those Music Heals Us events at the Uptown VFW on the first Saturday of August, first Saturday of September. So come and join us.